Welcome to Ponchatoula Live, the show where we make it easy for you to connect with the people of Ponchatoula. I'm your host, Parker Layrisson, and today I've got a fantastic guest. This is one of the nicest people in town, one of the most successful healthcare providers in town, and somebody you just want to meet. She and her husband, Blake, are some of my favorite friends that we met at Strawberry Castle back in the day. They have a beautiful family and now a beautiful business right here on Main Street in Ponchatoula. I am talking, of course, about Chelsea Rodi, and Chelsea has recently opened up the Bella Santa Functional Medical Clinic here in town. Chelsea, welcome to the show.
Hey, Parker, how are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm really glad you're on the show. Please say hello to your husband for me. Blake and I used to be, I guess, carpool buddies in that we would drop our kids off at the same time. And he was always one of the nicest dads to hang out with and chat with at Strawberry Castle. So I miss you guys now that our kids are at different schools.
I know.
But enough about that. Why don't you kick things off, if you will? Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
My name's Chelsea. My husband and I have lived in Ponchatoula for probably the last 20 years. We moved here shortly after Katrina. My husband was born and raised in Buras, Louisiana, and I spent most of my childhood in Buras. We moved to Ponchatoula to start a family. We have 3 children. Blake is a senior at Ponchatoula High School, and Chloe is a freshman at Ponchatoula High School. And then we also have a 7-year-old, Beckham, who's at Lake Castle.
Well, Bex was a heck of a, he got a little gap there, which I appreciate. I'm one of 4 boys, and there's 18 years between boy 1 and boy 4. But Bex was quite the soccer star back when we were in school together. So I hope he's still pursuing that. Great kids all around.
Yes, we have 3 soccer stars. If we're not at Ponchatoula High School soccer, we're at Stiza soccer every single day. So yeah.
It sounds like, my friend Kevin Rayford came on the show and he taught me a new term I'd never heard. I grew up with him and his wife, Karen. They have 4 boys, one of whom worked for me for like 4 years. But he told me when they were in the heat of all these kids at different places like you just described, they called it being sports divorced, because one would be at one park, the other would be at the other park, and they might not see each other until their beds hit the pillow. So I hope you and Blake are managing that. I know it can be tough. You mentioned coming from Buras. That's a special place to me because, my brother Jean-Paul is partners with 3 lawyers from Buras. Their late father, Dominic Scanduro, was also a partner at the firm, and I got to work with him for 3 or 4 years. And the late, great CJ Scanduro of Ponchatoula, like you and Blake, was a guy who grew up there and moved here. So for folks that don't know, the great store CJ's Collectibles on Railroad Avenue, right there across from the parking lot in the train tracks. CJ is named for CJ Scanduro. His widow, Miss Mary Scanduro, still owns and operates it. But we've been having great people come up from your way to Ponchatoula for a long time. And, Mr. CJ kind of adopted me when I went to work with his brothers. And he had me, insisted I call him Uncle CJ and treated me like part of the family. So it's neat for me to see another Buras Bay, origin Ponchatoula business, because y'all certainly had a great first act in Uncle CJ. So tell me about how you and Blake get here. I mean, you mentioned you came up here after Katrina to start a family. When did y'all kind of decide that this was home and y'all were going to, buckle down here in Ponchatoula for the long haul?
So that's funny you mentioned Mr. CJ. Blake's mom is actually really great friends with them. She was just
small world. Yeah, that's cool.
Close with them.
Yeah, marry the best.
Yeah. So we decided to stay and raise our family here in Ponchatoula because it just had that small town feeling. Buras is very, very small town. And Ponchatoula just kind of had that same charm with a little less concern over hurricanes. So after Katrina, our home was pretty much destroyed. So, it was easier to settle up here, and it just seemed like a great place to raise a family.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. Well, we're certainly better off because y'all made that decision. So let's talk about your career a little bit, if you don't mind. Okay. How did you end up in healthcare? When did you know you wanted to do this? Was it as a little girl, or when you were an adult? I mean, what was your path to that profession?
So I have always wanted to go into the medical field. Ever since I was a young child, I just always wanted to help people. I initially wanted to be a baby doctor, and then it gradually changed from there. I've been in the medical field over a decade now, which
Wow.
makes me feel kind of old when I say that. But
Hey, wait, don't. I've been a lawyer for 20 years, and look at these gray hairs. So you're still very young. Don't sweat it.
No, it's very rewarding. I've always liked to help people. I graduated from Southeastern with my master's, and I worked as a board certified family medicine nurse practitioner for years in various different fields in healthcare, from family medicine to rehab, hospice, psych, and functional medicine's just kind of become my passion over some time. So it just made sense to kind of settle here.
Mm-hmm. Well, educate me and our viewers and listeners, because I love that you have this well-rounded background in healthcare. And you mentioned a few things where we've had other guests on the show talk about it some. We've had nurse practitioners like Kristen Wheat come on here talk about that path. We've had hospice care providers like Angelique Richardson with Envoy Hospice come on talk about what they do. You've done some of that, but I don't know that we've had anybody really straight explain to us what functional medicine is. And if you don't mind, just kind of tell us what you mean by that.
Yeah, so functional medicine is just a more holistic approach to healthcare when compared to the conventional approach. We take a deeper look into the individual to try to find the root cause of their health concerns so that we can try to break free from that chronic symptom management cycle. It's a more personalized approach to healthcare. We do very advanced diagnostic tests, comprehensive lab panels. We focus a lot more on lifestyle, nutrition, even spirituality, stress management. We really focus to support the body's innate healing abilities, and then throw in a little medicine every now and then if needed.
Right. So it sounds like this is from the angle of that old saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you can head off the problem before it becomes a problem, you can prevent the problem and be so much better for it. Is that a fair way to put things? Am I in the right ballpark?
Yeah, so we do a lot with preventative care, and also trying to get people out of the chronic cycle for some of their conditions like high blood pressure and diabetes, to try to get them on a path to recovery.
Yeah, tell us about that. How do you get them on that path to recovery?
So we do a lot of different things. When we can look more in depth into, say, a comprehensive stool analysis, that can, when you're looking at the microbiome of the intestines, it can tell you a whole lot of things. So when something's off balance in there, it can affect inflammation in the body. It can affect your moods. It can affect your hormone balance, and the obvious GI symptoms. So if we can work to correct those imbalances, then we can help to get that person on a path to recovery. If we can help them manage their stress better, sleep better, get into a better nutrition cycle. We're awful with nutrition in this country just because we live
well, especially in this state. There's so many good cooks in Ponchatoula, right? How do you do it with all the great food around? It's a challenge.
I know it's very difficult, but just it's a lot of education and guidance. We kind of just walk hand in hand with them on their healing journey, because it's not an overnight fix. It's a path, it's a journey. And
well, I just received a comment here from someone who knows about things that aren't overnight fixes, and that is our wonderful mayor, Wesley Daniels. He knows it's a journey to get the city of Ponchatoula where it needs to be to get it healthy, whether we're talking about the water treatment system or anything else. But Wesley has commented here that he can't tell you how excited he is to have Chelsea and her business in Ponchatoula. You're such a great addition to our community. Mr. Mayor, of course, you're right. Thank you for tuning in and sharing that. Chelsea, how does it make you feel to see the mayor of the community say that about you? I know he came out when you opened the business, the ribbon cutting or whatever it's called. I mean, What's it feel like to get that kind of support from the top of the city on down?
I mean, gratitude is hardly a word to describe it. The mayor came out. That was and I appreciate your comment, Wesley. That's super sweet. But the community as a whole has been so supportive to us and just has welcomed us with open arms. And it's just an overwhelming sense of gratitude.
I told you off air before we started the show that we've been blessed that our guests have received a lot of friendly comments in the ballpark of what Wesley. It's not every day the mayor,
Yeah.
chimes in like this. That's a special comment. I don't mean to minimize it, but we receive comments from friends and families and neighbors from time to time. But in 180 episodes or whatever I've done, somewhere in that ballpark, you're the first person yet where my phone got to buzzing and I got what was essentially a pre-show comment. I want to read this even because Miss Faye Ivaniski is one of our most loyal watchers. She's just one of the sweetest ladies around. And she said she's so excited for the podcast today because Chelsea's an amazing, caring friend and healthcare provider. And so Miss Faye, if you are watching, I hope you're able to get to us live. I know you'll watch us later if you're not. Thank you for that. I did share that with Chelsea. I felt like she deserved to hear it. And it just, when you talk about the community kind of, supporting you, for me, it's reminiscent of when I started my little law practice 20 years ago here in town.
Yeah.
And Uncle CJ, we were talking about earlier, he came over and he's like, Parker, I don't have a case, but I want you to know you're my lawyer now. And I was so grateful for that. And Miss Brenda Harris and Mr. Johnny B. Harris were still running the gas station at the time. And it was the same thing. I mean, we have this collection of good-hearted people here that just want to see the next thing up, succeed. So, obviously you're getting that from the mayor. Have people been interested as you've remodeled this kind of, well-known little building on Main Street? Like, have had strangers come to poke their head in and see what's going on? I mean, what's that process been like? Because you didn't just buy a business, open a new clinic. You guys had kind of a makeover of the building too. I mean, what was that like?
We did. So my mom's a realtor and she kind of got a little insight that this place right on Main Street was going to come up available. And I had been talking about opening a clinic, but no place that we looked at seemed right. And then we came here and it just was perfect location. The building just has so much charm. We love it. It's an old house, got a nice backyard, nice front yard, plenty parking. So I kind of just fell in love with this space. It used to be an antique shop and a lot of things were dated. And so
I saw that. One part I loved about your video was that you showed the before and after.
Yeah.
And so people could see how dated things were. And now look behind you. It's obviously beautiful and modern there now. But that y'all made that happen. You didn't just buy that, right?
No, so we purchased the building in January, and over the last 7 months, a collection of my family, friends I literally cannot even tell you how many people just showed up here and picked up a paintbrush. I get like emotional when I think about it because I really have the best friends that have just shown up to do that. But we've knocked down the walls, we painted, we put new floors in. Mr. Andy Duvik redid all of the
absolute best. Andy did the floors at my office and my house. I grew up with Andy. He's like a big brother to me.
Yeah,
and Wesley, who was on the show earlier, he's like a brother to Wesley. He's the best.
Yeah, he did an amazing job. So we've remodeled the whole building, and so a lot of people will poke their head in here just saying, oh my gosh, it looks so different. But most people, when they walk in, they say, oh my gosh, it's so calming in here and peaceful. And that's like exactly the vibe I was going for, because when I walk into work every day, I'm like, oh, it's so calming and peaceful. So I just love being here.
Well, did you kind of, were you your own interior designer, or did somebody, do that? Did you, how did you get there from where you were to that effect, that calm, peaceful thing that you've mentioned?
No, this was mostly me. I just wanted a clean, pretty much white space, as you can see from the background, with plenty of plants. We have diffusers going, so it smells really good in here. soft music. I just had a vision and we went with it.
Well, you wouldn't know it from my background here in my little office, but the rest of our house is kind of as you've described it with my wife, with their clean white walls and tasteful, art like you have there. So you and Brandy have similar tastes, I guess. We mentioned the great Miss Faye, and she is here watching. So this is her comment. She says, Chelsea, you're amazing, and you have helped her. And Miss Faye, thank you for sharing that. I know it's important for small businesses to have patients, clients, customers, whatever you have, who will step up and let the world know about the great services we're providing right here in Ponchatoula. So if you weren't kind enough to share, not only that Chelsea's a great person, but that she's helping you a lot as a medical professional, that's a service you're providing the community. While I'm at it, and Chelsea, you mentioned that your mom is a realtor who helped you so much. I'll bring the mayor's quote back up here and give a shout out to my realtors over there at Branch Real Estate, because like you, I remodeled a little old house. I'm not on Main Street. I'm one block off. But, everything you just described kind of had to be done at our place, including bringing Andy Duvick in to do the hardwood floors. And he did such a great job. And I remember we did our inspection for our, whenever you do the inspection to buy a house, make sure things are on the up and up. And it was the nastiest, coldest, rainiest, like sleet day. And, I'm up there because it's my one and only off project. And Brandy and I hadn't even bought our house yet. All our money was going into the office. And it was a big deal to me. But to a big shot realtor like Wesley, it was probably one of many deals. And I remember thinking, boy, if I was Wesley, I would have stayed home today, or I would have called one of the junior associates and made them do it. But he didn't. He got his butt up, and he was there in the cold rain with me that day. And the same was true when he bought the lot for us to build a house. And his colleague Sharon Carter helped us buy this house we're in now. So they do a great job there at Branch, and I want to give them some shout outs too, as well as Andy. Andy, I need to get you on the show to talk about the beautiful work you do with hardwood. So Chelsea, thanks for allowing me to take a minute to do commercials for everybody else here. But as we're learning with this, it kind of takes a village, right? Whether it's my law practice, your medical practice, or there are other businesses we've mentioned. Ponchatoula is better off when people shop local. I mean, do you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's so important that people understand that you don't have to drive to the city anymore to get great things. Like, when we grew up here, Ponchatoula was a small town. We had some really great folks here doing what you do to an extent, providing healthcare products. Dr. Allen and his clinic was always there. Dr. Walker and his partners had another place a block over. But there weren't that many places to go get well in the realm of family medicine. There was certainly no one with your take on it. It was more traditional family practices. And so I think it's cool now that we can get what you provide, but not have to drive certainly to New Orleans or Baton Rouge, but even to Covington, right? So that's pretty cool. What are some things you've learned so far since you hung your shingle, renovated your property, and went into business? What have been some lessons learned?
So the biggest lesson is that it's a really good thing that I went into healthcare and not the remodeling business. I was not great at that, especially picking an old house to be the first thing that I remodeled. But I learned a lot, and it was fun. But
well, I'm going to try something here that I have not done on the show before. So, folks, bear with me. Those that watch me frequently, like Miss Faye and Wesley, know that I'm kind of low tech. And so it's a 50-50 that I'll botch it here. But I have located here the video from your Facebook or TikTok of your remodel. So if this works, and we'll try this here, we're going to bring this up. Let me see here. Whoa, wrong one. Bear with me, folks. I'm low tech, but let's see if this works where I can play it for everyone. They can watch. This is that old house. I see really old plates on the wall. You can watch. There we go. So to our audio listeners on the podcast, I'm sorry, you just got a little music there. For the folks that are watching on Facebook with video, they got to watch this amazing transformation where the front of the place looks kind of Sanford and Son on the way in with old trucks and whatnot. The inside looks like a grandmother's been hoarding for a while. And I know it was an antique shop. They had stuff to sell. But wow, from the most cluttered, dated, kind of funky old existence to this clean, modern, healthy vibe. Kudos, Chelsea. I mean, you say, remodeling is not your forte, but the video tells another story. What's it like to watch that in a 2-minute video as opposed to the very long multi-month process you went through to actually get there?
It's rewarding.
I bet.
And it just makes me thankful.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're having done that now, are you and Blake eager to go out and find some old fixer-upper and remodel and move the 3 kids, or is that a one-and-done experience for you?
Well, we still have a little more work here left to do. There's actually a really cool space behind here that's a big shed, kind of open room that we're trying to figure out what to do with. So I'm going to get him working on that here soon. Right now, some local kids are using it for Bible study, which is amazing, but eventually it'll be something great. And then there's an actual big backyard here for it being right in town. So, he loves plants. So I'm hoping he'll turn that into some sort of an oasis for me.
Very cool. Well, it's cool. It's cool to hear that you've come that far, but there's still much more to do. And it sounds like y'all have a fantastic plan in place. Let me ask you this. Like, what is a day in the life like at your clinic? Like, I think people, we're there when we come to a medical clinic. Hopefully we get kind of in and out quick. I know sometimes wait times can be a problem and all. But for those of you on the healthcare provider side, and I ask you because there may be some little girl watching, some young man, somebody who wants to be you when they grow up, in a sense, what should they expect, like, for a full day of work for you,
Well, here in this space, it's quite different from when I'm rounding in the hospitals and stuff. It's much more relaxed. We don't typically have a wait time at all. We try to make that a mission here, but visits are long. I sit down with someone usually for an hour to an hour and a half, and I want to know everything about them because we're going on such a close journey together, and I'm trying to get down deep and figure out like what exactly is going on. We sit together for a long time and really just talk a lot. So that's one of the biggest differences from
that's amazing because the two difference. I'm sorry, I thought you were done. I didn't mean to talk over you. Please continue.
Oh no, you're good. I was just saying that's just the biggest difference from when I was working in a traditional conventional medicine clinic. We're seeing a patient for 15 minutes and then we're moving on.
Yeah, because you're right. Because like one of the time spent with a patient is night and day. Mm-hmm. But also, so like when you combine like the traditional long wait time up front, then short provider time, you've basically turned that on its head, flipped that ratio. And when you get to know your patient that well, I'm sure your insight into how better to heal them and prevent them from illness, just skyrockets. And, same thing in practice and law. Like if I know my client this much, my bag of tricks on what I can do to help them is limited. But when I dig deep, as you've described, and spend an hour with them, I'm learning more and more rich detail that I can put to work. And, as we mentioned, one of your patients is watching the show, Miss Faye. She's asked me to ask you to tell our viewers and listeners about foot detox and red light therapy. Would you mind telling us what goes into that?
Yeah, so those are two of the services that we offer here. So we do red light therapy, which the red light therapy we have here is red light and near infrared light. So it goes not just skin deep, it goes a little bit below the surface, and it helps to decrease inflammation. It's good for skin rejuvenation, pain. I have a lot of athletes that come here post-injury or post-workout for muscle recovery, just because it helps to increase the blood flow and decrease inflammation. So I know that's why she's asking about that because she was just here today. And the foot detox, it uses low-level ionic electrical impulses to help stimulate your body's natural detox processes. So you'll get this bucket of water at the end that's full of a bunch of nasty things that we can send you pictures of.
I think a lot of us have seen that in like our
Yeah.
TikTok or Facebook feed, and yeah, it's that's pretty gnarly stuff. If you don't mind, I'm going to make another attempt here at at, uh, at technology, because I'm going to go to your website, which has a variety of services listed. And if you don't mind, walk us through these. So you mentioned, I think, preventative wellness earlier in the show. If you have more to say on that, feel free to. But if you don't mind, let's get into this gastrointestinal testing, this functional, test that you have there. What goes into that?
So that's a little bit of what I talked about earlier. So that we look deeper into the microbiome. So we'll usually do comprehensive stool analysis, which will give us back pretty much I think it's a 5-page report, and it tells us the different levels of good bacteria, where they're at, high or low, what we need to supplement there. It'll tell us about your digestion, if you're having any inflammation in the intestines, any bad bacteria, and how high those levels are, any parasites or funguses, because all of those things can throw multiple body systems kind of out of whack.
Yeah. Well, that sounds scary when you hear parasites. We've all seen it. My wife and I love to watch these medical dramas, and Grey's Anatomy is her favorite show ever. And boy, when you think about what you might come back from some other country with, or get here, I'm sure they're locally a problem too. But wow, let's see here if I can go back into this. What about the vitamin and mineral testing? What goes into play there?
Yeah, so there's different hair and blood tests that we can do that'll tell us it helps us find any mineral deficiencies, which could also contribute to some of these chronic symptoms that people are having: chronic fatigue, hair loss, ADHD, thyroid problems. So that's kind of the things that we talk about when we're looking deeper and we're taking a deeper dive into what's actually going on with the person. These tests are more specialized than what we do in conventional medicine.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ms. Faye says it's amazing, as you can see from her comment here. And Chelsea, I want to respect your time. I realize I'm gone a little longer than I anticipated. So I'm going to show you one more show here, and then hopefully you can tell us about these services. And I'll just ask you about all three here. We have heavy metal testing, mycotoxin, if I'm saying that right, testing. Yeah. And then the thing that most of us probably recognize the most, food and allergy sensitivity testing. If you wouldn't mind, share a little bit on that, and then I'll probably do my best to land this plane for you.
Yeah, so similar to the other test, so heavy metals is a big thing with vaccines, or people just have heavy metal exposures. Mycotoxins, that's mold. So the big thing in the South with all the humidity and moisture. So a lot of people do the mycotoxin testing to see if they've had, some mold exposures.
Like black mold, things of that sort?
Yeah, that may be contributing to chronic, respiratory symptoms that they might be having.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, food and allergy testing. I know my family allergies, we've got all kinds in every direction, and people have different food sensitivities. What can you learn from that when you do that testing?
So it helps us to narrow down different reasons why. So if we look at the gut microbiome and it doesn't tell us if there's no major deficiencies as far as bacteria that are off, a lot of times it'll show us inflammation or a suppressed immune response in the intestines or a heightened immune response in the intestines, which could give us some insight that maybe we're having some food sensitivities. And when we can look into a food sensitivity test, we can help someone eliminate those foods and then ideally alleviate some of those symptoms that they're having.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about how people can get started with you? When, maybe starting with kind of the when. Should people wait till they're having a problem and it's hurting here or feeling bad there or whatever? Should they come see you now? How do they book appointments? Just how does the process work to go from being man or woman on the street to delighted patient like Miss Faye?
Yeah, so I always say your health is your greatest wealth. So it's never too early to be preventative. Preventative healthcare is what keeps you from, developing these chronic conditions. So if you don't have any of those yet, now's the time to start. We do actually have coming up too, speaking of prevention, in the month of October, we're doing, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we are hosting Sound Prevention here, and they're going to be doing some preventative breast ultrasounds.
Thank you for sharing that. My mom's a breast cancer survivor. I volunteer with the First Baptist Church Cancer Care Ministry, and that's such a big deal. And please continue, because I'm so glad you're sharing this.
Yeah, so ultrasounds are a great non-invasive way to screen for breast cancer. So they're going to come set up here for the day and do screenings. So we'll be posting about that soon so that people can sign up. Excellent.
Well, I would encourage anyone who is interested in any way in this to check out your website. I think it's bellasantafmc.com. We'll do our best to get that pasted down in the show notes. Or the comments rather to the Facebook page here or our show, or you can just Google it because all the things she's talked about are listed there. It's a fantastic website. There's a link to book an appointment if you can. And I just thank you for sharing all this, Chelsea. This is overdue for Ponchatoula. I'm so delighted that we're getting this services in town, but more than anything, delighted to know that they're coming from a person as highly qualified as you, and just a family that's as wholesome and wonderful as you and Blake and your kids are, because I've seen you guys in action. Y'all have been at our house swimming before, it's just like y'all are good people, and I can see it and sense it and know it. And that's what the good people of Ponchatoula need in a healthcare provider. So, as my lifelong doctor, Dr. Walker, retires, it's so good to see another, when time marches on in a place, you just kind of wonder sometimes, like, who's next? Who's going to carry that role? Yeah. Because people that like him that were just so great at it are now gone, professionally at least. And it's like, hey, here you are right here to fill in that gap. And it's wonderful. So thank you for that. Before we close down, is there anything else on your mind, on your heart, anything at all you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners before we go?
No, I just really want to thank you for having me on. Sam's calling.
If I would have finished the show on time, we would have never had the call. So that's my fault. I'll take the
No, I just want to thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your kind words. I'll just close it out with, your health is your greatest wealth. Nourish not only your body, but your mind and your spirit. Live in gratitude and spread love and kindness.
Oh, wow. That was eloquent. You could have been a lawyer, too, if you'd have wanted to. Nicely done. Thank you very much for your time, Chelsea. Please give my best to Blake and the kids. To our viewers, our listeners that stuck with us the whole time, thank you all. To our commenters like Miss Faye and Wesley and such, thank you so much. Y'all take care, and we'll be back next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks.